we've set up our fields. We've gone through how to add rainfall irrigation. Now it's mostly just a matter of monitoring the fields or making decisions on whether or not to irrigate or not. We're at the end of the season. We're in mid-September, so our corn crop is mature, our cotton is close to maturity. So it's not exactly a great example here, and I'm going to show you in a minute some screen grabs from early in the season that showed more typical situations. But there's these top buttons. Some farmers really like the farm summary and never use the field status. Some of them like field status and don't like farm summary, so it's kind of a personal thing. You can get the same information from either one. It's just this is what it looks like on the screen with the desktop. Now you can also bear in mind. Most people use their cell phone, particularly during the day, and to advance between one field to the next, you just take your finger and swipe it left to right or right to left to go forward. In this case, on the desktop, you would just take it and use the mouse cursor and go. You see here, a lot of these fields, like in case of cotton, we don't recommend irrigating after August the 15th. So the soil is dry, but we wouldn't irrigate at this time of season. Okay, this one is a kind of an example. Just recently we had a field day, so we were busy that last week preparing for field day, and we had a large crowd come here. So we couldn't irrigate, or we're too busy irrigating, and we got behind. This red line right here, this is the line that we want to stay above. So when you're irrigating, you try to stay, and this graph right here shows the past 4 weeks. So about a week and a half ago, we needed to irrigate. We got busy and couldn't, and then the soil water balance dropped below the red line. And since then we've irrigated twice, but we haven't brought it back up again yet to above the red line. So this morning I'll irrigate and we should be back up here where we're supposed to be. But what the program does is you can look at this, and when it's got plenty of moisture, there will be this will be blue all the way over to the wet. But now it's dried out and it's gone below this to the left of this red line. So we're talking about the 50% allowable depletion. So we're drier than that, and so we'll irrigate and bring that back up again. If you had a deeper rooting depth, we would have a longer trigger, and this red line would be farther down here. So if you have a sandy soil or a loam soil, or have different rooting depths, that'll change. So that's how you look at your field status, and then I'm going to show you some typical slides or typical screen grabs from earlier in the season showing how different fields, how you would stay above that red line, and that's your goal, is to keep the plant out of stress so that you're not needing to water or plants or losing yield. Okay, now we click on Farm Summary, which, like I said, is the same type of information, but it's looking at it a little differently. At the top of the screen here, you see a dryness index, and that goes, today is Monday, so the first column is today. And then what we're doing is we're projecting, assuming no rainfall in the future, when the field would need to be irrigated the next time. And the way the system works is one red asterisk is a 70% of your trigger, two red asterisks are 80%, and 3 are 90, and then you have the red blocks, with the white things that you need to be irrigating today, or in this case, like this field here, field 12. Soybeans, it needs to be irrigated today, and then some of these others would be later on next week. But bear in mind that we're later in the season, and it's not typical. Okay, this is a screen grab from the middle of the season. which is more typical of what you kind of situation you might expect. You got, these are, half a dozen fields that I've got here, and this is on a Tuesday. It's showing that this field, which is center pivot irrigated or fur irrigated rice, needs to be irrigated today. It's got all red cells with white. The soybean field, it's got two red asterisks by it. It's not critical yet at that point that it needs to be watered, but it's right at it though. So you say tomorrow, Wednesday, you would need to irrigate this cornfield, and say we've just recently irrigated that because it's showing the water balance at 0. It's showing okay all the way through. And if you scroll the screen over, you can see that what it shows for the rest of the week. If you're on a desktop, it shows the whole week there. And these right here, it shows they're not needing to be irrigated through Thursday, but in this case, Friday, it was going to need to be watered. So it kind of gives you a feel for kind of the scope of how the program works in more of a typical situation. But one of the advantages of this screen is, so you can print it off and hand it to someone that works for you, and it shows in advance, later in the week, if assuming no rainfall, when you need to irrigate the field. So it helps you with planning, or maybe you need to spray for a chemical or something like that, and you're trying to work around that. It helps you. Or say it's towards the end of the week and your wife, you wanted to go out of town or on a short trip or something like that, or you don't want to be irrigating, working on Sunday or something like that. You can plan ahead, and it shows you, okay, I'm not going to irrigate, I'll be in stress on Saturday or Sunday, so I can irrigate Thursday or Friday or something like that. It's kind of planning ahead. So for time management, labor, and working around other field operations, it's a useful tool. So some other things that are kind of useful, we have something called crop stage. Crop stage is not directly related to water, but, and bear in mind that we're towards the end of the season now, so all these are later in the season. But we used growing degree days to predict the stage of growth for how much water the evaporation the plant has. So we're tracking that anyway, so there's not much of a effort to go the next step. And so by looking at these, you can say how many DD60s or how many DD50s you have. Say here's corn. So it's showing 2,783 DD50s, and we're past the dent stage, and the corn is ready to mature. It's ready to harvest right now. So you can, it's obvious. I mean, you see the thing in the field, but one good thing about it is for each stage of growth, we have a thing for you to be checking on. Say late in the season at peak bloom, we would be concerned about bollworm termination of spraying. So you can see here it says cut out plus 350 DD60. So at that point you would know I don't need to waste money on insecticides at this point because I'm already past that stage. So, and then early in the season it talks about square retention and other things like that. So this is kind of a useful feature. Also, we've got buttons here for other